guys. Now I understand this is quite late for this review, but when I searched YouTube I saw there weren't any others on there, so I thought why not throw my 2 cents in. Boogie is a 24-year-old rapper from Long Beach, Compton, who started to gain some attention last year with his first mixtape, First 48. Now he sort of caught my attention with his first video that I saw, Oh My, which I enjoyed it at the time, but to be honest I did kind of write him off as just another turn-up rapper. Then eventually I stumbled back onto his YouTube channel and checked out the rest of his stuff, and how wrong was I? I was really impressed with his rapping style and the sort of instrumentals he was choosing, really sort of mellow beats which were quite different to what he did on Oh My, so that was what made me think I really need to check out his stuff. So onto The Reach. When it dropped I immediately checked it out, and here's what I thought of it. Now the intro and title track to this mixtape, The Reach, starts off with a slow down and pitch down sample of Route 94 and Jess My Love, which usually I'm not really a fan of sampling sort of hit songs, so I was a little bit skeptical at first when I heard it, but as it went in I thought it was a really good track and sort of set the mood for the album, and the sample surprisingly worked. And that was sort of continued onto the second track, With Me, which had a darker feel, but Boogie came in a lot more aggressive and was really convincing on this song. Very aggressive, and the thing I liked about it, he's so commanding on the mic. He's really able to bring you into his world and you sort of believe everything that he says. He's very convincing with his words. Now the sample in this one, I couldn't quite put my finger onto what it was. The beat sounds really familiar, so let me know if you know what it was in the comments below, but the theme of this song sort of touched on what I think First 48 was about, sort of our social media thirsty generation. The third track, Intervention, has more of a soulful and R&B type sample. The producers AC and Kiel, I hope I'm saying that right, they manipulated the sample to give it a bit of a twisted and warped feel, which I thought was cool. So it's not just a straight loop, it is sort of changing the whole time and creating movement, which Boogie sounded really good over. He doesn't come across as preachy or anything, he just comes across as another relatable guy, so I think that's something he does really well. Now the fourth track, Further, and this is where in my opinion it gets really interesting, this mixtape. It features a heartbreaking sample about Tiana Ricks, who was a young girl who got shot and killed during an attack on her father, who I believe might have been in a gang. This song talks about the cycle of violence and trying to push through it. So I thought it was a really strong track. Probably my favourite on the mixtape, to be honest. Boogie has some really interesting lines on this song, like the following one, which sort of touches on what Kendrick was talking about in To Pimp a Butterfly. I see a killer, but it's sick how we'll be tripping when the cops do. Like, don't that seem backwards? Now to me, it almost sounds like a post Section 80 or Good Kid, Mad City album, and coming from Compton as well, obviously Boogie took some influence and inspiration from Kendrick Lamar, and that's what music's all about, drawing in from the inspirations and influences and creating music as a result of it. Now Kendrick's also shown some love for Boogie in the past. Now it's very cliche to say that they should work together, but I don't think anyone can deny that these two, their styles would mesh together perfectly in terms of what they talk about and the style of music they rap over. Now the fifth track, God's Work, the interlude, was produced by Willie B of Digiphonics and Top Dog Entertainment. And as soon as I heard the horns on this one, it really drew me in because I'm such a fan of jazzy instrumentals and beats, so as soon as I heard this one I knew I'd like this track. And Boogie flows over it really nicely and talks about memories he has growing up, such as his mum getting evicted from their house and them having nowhere to sleep that night, so they literally have to sneak back into that place, and they ended up, I think, sleeping there or living there for about a week. So I thought that was a cool story, and sort of like little lines like that help you sort of picture everything a bit more about what he sort of went through and how his upbringing was. Now the sixth track, Make Me Over, has a vocal sample playing throughout the track, and you also hear a vocal sample of Boogie's son in the middle of the track, which I thought was really cool to hear his voice, and features Deanna Stewart, I hope I'm saying that right, who delivered some really convincing, strong vocals, which that did help, bring across the message of the song, and the keys and sort of dreamy synths in the background were really perfect for the beat and for the vocals to shine in this track. Boogie comes across with a very strong line. It was simple but very effective, which I really liked, where he said, "Crayons in this cupboard, how am I supposed to tell him I got shot over some colours?" And after he says this line, the beat sort of starts building up and his voice becomes more and more aggressive, where he sort of reached the pinnacle, the peak of this song, and it just created a really cool moment in the album, I thought, but the track really built up. And that was something I noticed in the whole mixtape, where the songs weren't really just straight loops or stagnant across the song. They really did have their moments where they built up, and I think it was something Boogie and the producers really should take a bow on. Now the next track, Oh My, I think it was led into really well by the previous track as it built up and then sort of matched the sort of hype and the aggression of Oh My, which when it comes in, it's crazy. I mean, shout out Jalil Beats, the way he used that sample and the way it built up before the 808 trap drums came in was just crazy. Now I must say I've low-key been a fan of Jalil Beats over recent years, where it's from his Chris Brown collaboration G-Shit and Holler at Me, which was sort of guilty pleasures, and then obviously the Bobby Shmurda track. About a week ago. Jalil produced them all, and here's a beast. This one was another moment, I would say, in the album where just sort of the atmosphere and the momentum sort of turned up, and Boogie was able to really go in on this one. And also the message of the song did tie in with the rest of the mixtape, saying how he got shot up and that sort of thing, talking about the violence in the city. It all tied together well, so I think it was a smart inclusion on this mixtape, and obviously this song alone has helped with a lot of people notice Boogie. I mean, that's how I got into him in the first place, so good song there. The next track, First Evergreen, was produced by Willie B and featured a sample of some female singing which was weaving in and out of the beat, which I thought was cool. It sounded really good. And Boogie, again, speaking about the violence going on in the city, but he had a really simple but effective line which stood out for me, where he said, "Lives lost from all these lines crossed." Now, there were 12 tracks on this mixtape. The 9th one, Overstayed, was an interlude, which was produced by Dart and Kiel, who also did Make Me Over. Now, this, I thought, was a solid track with a sort of bright sample playing throughout. Features some singing in the chorus, which I read in a Complex interview that Boogie did, that he actually grew up listening to a lot of R&B and gospel music, and he was also singing in a church choir when he was younger for a bit. So to me, that sort of helped explain where a few of his influences come and why he likes to use a lot of singing in the choruses and hooks. And I think it's something which is really good. It adds a bit more versatility to the project, and it's not just rapping the whole time. There is a bit of singing, so it does help sort of break up the mood of some of the songs, which is really good. And I think that's where a lot of hip-hop projects have sort of come up short in recent years, the choruses or hooks. Not necessarily because of lack of singing, but sometimes they're just not very strong, and I think that's something which Boogie does really well consistently throughout this project. So that was something I was really impressed with. The next track, Find Me, was another really good track. Featured Deanna Stewart again, and on the chorus Boogie was singing along with her, which sounded really good. So I definitely loved that track. The penultimate track, Found You, was sort of a love song where Boogie was talking about a girl that he misses. Now, I'm not sure who he's talking about in particular, but it sounded like it could have been to the mother of his child, perhaps. Not too sure on that, but it was a really good track where the producers kind of took the sample, and the way they were manipulating the filters did create another sort of warped and twisted feel like they did an intervention. So it was a really good track, and the beat obviously constantly moving and elements shifting in and out, which I thought was really good. So I definitely like this track. Now, the last track, Change, I thought it was a great way to end the mixtape. The mood certainly shifted, and Boogie mentioned his dad a little bit and how much his family means to him in the song. Featured a church choir singing I Know I Can Change, and a good way to end the album. So I thought, big ups to Boogie for not being afraid of using certain samples or sounds or styles throughout the mixtape. He did a really good job in curating this project. And this one, it's got so much replay value. I've listened to this a load of times, probably 20 plus times, and I haven't got sick of any of the songs yet, so I think that's a major plus. And the first time I played it, I really loved it. It's not the sort of project where it grows on you and you need a few listens to get into it. I liked it straight away, and that's why I'm sort of not sure why it hasn't got as much exposure as I thought it would, or critical acclaim just yet, because it's definitely the sort of thing you can put it on and you'll like it straight away. Now, this is an extremely cohesive project. It doesn't just sound like a bunch of beats that, Boogie's got from different producers and thrown them together. Definitely sounds like he had a concept in mind and he worked together to create that overall sound. While Oh My might stand out in the middle of the mixtape, I think it was a smart choice to put it there, and just to break things up and make sure not everything sounds, quite so mellow, and gives it that epic feel in the middle of the mixtape that we sort of needed, that sort of punch. So I think that was a smart choice by him. Now I should say shout out to Kiel, I hope I'm saying that right, but he produced the majority of the tracks, and in my opinion he's just as responsible as Boogie is for the success of this project. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next just as much as I am Boogie. So congrats to him, and also the rest of the producers, Willie B, AC, Dart, I think, and also Deanna Stewart on the vocals. But to wrap things up, The Reach is easily one of my favourite projects so far in 2015. I think Boogie's flows, his rapping style, and the instrumentals he chose were really good choices, and it just makes for a really easy listening experience, but also sort of challenging the listener and the things he's talking about, the lyrics, the violence going on in the city that he lives in. So overall, an amazing project. So I can't wait to see what he does next. And people, go support Boogie, because he deserves a lot more exposure and critical acclaim than he's currently got. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next, and I hope he can continue to make amazing projects like this. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more reviews on this channel. Let me know what you thought of this project, if you agreed and disagreed, favourite tracks, and what should I review next. Let me know in the comments or either on Twitter. Thanks.